This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore. Information is critical in our lives. Information is critical in politics. Information and intelligence, and I don't mean intelligence, but like military intelligence, the understanding, the piecing together disparate elements to create a picture, are vitally important to changing the minds of people related to politics. I've been talking and thinking about this lately, and that is we need to hold Republicans accountable for their hypocrisy. Not just say, well, they're hypocrites, but point out just how hypocritical and shameless and dignity-free they are. In this case, specifically related to the infrastructure bill, a bill that they demonized, that it was socialism. Oh my God, it's going to change America. It's going to transform America if we rebuild our crumbling bridges and roads. Doesn't make any sense. And then once it passes, those same vile, sinister charlatans who voted against it are now hailing the projects, promoting the projects as though they had anything at all to do with their passage. The Los Angeles Times wrote a little article about this, and I want to read a little bit from this and point to a congressman's website who is just as guilty as anybody about this. Higgins, Steve Scalise, Granger, they're all highlighted here, and I want to talk about it. The LA Times article, Republicans who voted against Biden's infrastructure bill are touting its projects anyway. Representative Granger, Republican from Texas, last year left little doubt why she was voting against the $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure measure, calling it nothing more than a, quote, socialist plan full of crushing taxes and radical spending. That's what she called it. And now that same Granger is talking about the projects that were funded by the thing she didn't vote for as wonders for her district. Yet, when the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers announced on Wednesday that the very same infrastructure bill would be funding a $403 million flood control project in her district in the Fort Worth area, Granger wasted no time in hailing the effort. Quote, "This is a great day for Fort Worth," she said in a statement. She did not mention where the Army Corps was getting the money, but thanked the agency for its hard work and tireless commitment to making her community safer. Hypocrite. Granger is not the only Republican cheering on projects generated by a bill she voted to kill. In recent days, at least 4 other Republican members of Congress have praised initiatives made possible by the infrastructure law they opposed. Political analysts say they are not likely to be the last. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican of Bakersfield, California, fought the legislation, as did former President Trump, ex-President Trump. They encouraged Republican lawmakers to block the bill, insisting it was bad policy and inextricably linked to a larger Democratic social spending package, an initiative that has stalled in the Senate because they are liars who don't care about making lives of Americans better. All they care about is culture war nonsense, socialism, taxes, crushing spending. This is it. Donald Trump's administration was a series of infrastructure weeks and nothing got done. Among the Republicans who bashed the law but are taking credit for its initiatives in recent weeks are 2 lawmakers representing Louisiana. Representative Steve Scalise, I misspoke, but it has a nice ring to it. Representative Steve Scalise, the House Minority Whip, and Representative Higgins, whose district spans the southern part of the Bayou State. Now, I would be remiss if I did not continue to remind everyone every time I mention Steve Scalise, that he once was quoted as saying, "I'm just like David Duke without all the baggage." He is a vile, sinister, reprehensible white supremacist who happens to be a congressman in leadership in the Republican Party. Scalise, in a news release, highlighted $400 million in initiatives made possible by the law that mitigate flooding. Higgins similarly applauded more than $190 million in funding for waterway projects in his district. And here it is. Put it on screen here. Here is the statement from Clay Higgins. Congressman Clay Higgins, Republican of Louisiana, announced today that the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers waterway projects in South Louisiana will receive funding through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and a supplemental disaster relief bill. He didn't vote for the infrastructure bill, yet here he is. "Oh, this is so great. I had something to do with this. I'm announcing it. I'm putting this project on my website as though I voted for it," when he did not. In a statement last week, Higgins was upfront about his opposition to, quote, "the infrastructure bill in its totality based on unwavering principle," though he admitted there are certain elements within the bill that my office fully supports. It doesn't matter whether you fully support elements of a bill that you vote against, dipshit, Clay Higgins. A spokeswoman for Scalise said in a statement that the congressman has long promoted funding for projects in his district. You long promote funding for projects in your district until you don't, until you vote against them and then tout them as though you had something to do with them, you hypocrite. It's unfortunate, the statement goes on to say, that the Democrats decided to play politics with infrastructure, the statement said, and instead loaded their bill with unrelated liberal agenda items. Is one of those liberal agenda items the $400 million? The $400 million in initiatives made possible by the law that mitigate flooding? Steve Scalise, is it? Granger, the Texas Republican who commended the Army Corps of Engineers for addressing flooding problems, defended her vote against the legislation, saying she wasn't against this project, except for the no vote that you cast on the infrastructure bill, you liar. Quote, "I was against some of the other parts of that bill," Granger said in a Thursday news conference. And of course, a representative for Granger did not return emails seeking comment. Cowards, liars, grifters, charlatans, hypocrites, dangerous demagogues who would rather cash checks for promoting culture war nonsense than actually getting down to business. I said in my podcast the other day that Democrats stand for something and Republicans stand in the way. And it's becoming clearer and clearer and clearer that one, I'm a genius at coming up with sayings. And two, I'm right. If you're a Republican out there and you think you're on the right side of things, if you think that you're on the side of America and your politicians are voting no for critical infrastructure bills that will rebuild America to greatness, you gotta evaluate where you are. What do you think, though? Republicans included, what do you think? Leave me a call. 714-576-4054 is where you can leave me a voicemail. Daily@Dollemore.com is where, obviously, you can send me an email. Follow me on social media. I'd love to connect with you there. I'm at Dollemore on Twitter, at Dollemore on Instagram. I'm not sure if that's the order that they show up on the screen, but, hey, we're going to play fast and loose. And I'm at Dollemore on TikTok as well, if that's your thing. If I bring you value, if I bring you information, if I bring you a smile or some ammunition intellectually to go into your week and talk to your friends and neighbors about politics, please consider supporting my work here on the platform. For as little as $1.99 a month, you can support and produce what I do here by becoming a channel member. Click the join button below, see what's involved, become a channel member. Or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support my work there. That's not just for the podcast, it's also for here. And if you haven't subscribed and listened to the podcast, that's absolutely a good time. Co-hosted by my lovely, talented, and scholarly co-host, Brittany Page. It is a good time twice a week about today's goings-on. Anyway, I love you guys. I will see you next time. Until I do, be genuine. Take care of one another.